First, Mr. Heithold. According to the National Institute on Minority Health Disparities, Ripley County has a poverty level of 14.5%, as you've heard before. What do you feel is the largest contributing factor to the high poverty rate in Southeast Missouri, and specifically Ripley County? And how would you address this if you were elected as our next congressman?
Okay, I used to be a teacher. I know there was students in there, third generation welfare. And so there's entitlements like there's entitlements like we talked about that they were grown into, and that was part of their lifestyle. So that we have to educate these people in a way that they got to earn what they, what they're responsible for what they're getting. A lot of the things I look at things on a higher scale, I guess, as far as what affects you locally, and that is giving a lot of this jobs and stuff overseas. We got to find a way to get that back and bring manufacturing and that type of stuff into our rural areas. So that would be a big thing for me to try to, on the federal level, try to get this stuff back where we can still be competitive in the world market and do some of this stuff.
Thank you. Ms. McCallian?
Yep, I know the question. So our district has 28 counties in it, Ripley being one of them, and we are the poorest district in the state of Missouri for congressional districts. We've had the same representative for 11 years, and that representative isn't investing our tax dollars in this district. So it makes sense that we are struggling to rise up and to even be more equal with some of the other districts. We have the lowest economic indicators here. We make the lowest wages. We actually die 2 years earlier on average in the 8th congressional district than every other congressional district in the state. Jason Smith is our current representative, and he's not bringing your federal tax dollars back to this district because he doesn't believe in earmarks and he doesn't want federal tax dollars. So he leaves our money on the table. We're not being invested in. So that's one big step. The other is that we need someone who fights for us. We need more people to fight for us. We're being left behind. And so someone who is in Congress that would fight to bring jobs here. For example, we had the Chips and Science Act, which Jason Smith voted against, instead of fighting to have a chips manufacturing facility in the 8th. We have been a manufacturing facility or district before with a lot of manufacturing, and we've lost that because someone's not fighting for us at the top.
Thank you. Mr. Roth?
You want to repeat it so I don't forget anything?
Sure. According to the National Institute of Minority Health and Health Disparities, Ripley County has a poverty level of 14.5%, which places us tied at 15th for the largest poverty percentage in Missouri. What do you feel is the largest contributing factor to the high poverty rate in Southeast Missouri, and specifically Ripley County? And how would you address this if you were elected as our next congressman?
Jobs. People don't have good jobs. They're on SNAP benefits, they're on Medicaid, things like that. We have exported all of our manufacturing overseas. We have no textile industry anymore. Our steel industry is almost gone. Our aluminum industry is almost gone. We just lost a plant in Scott County, New Madrid County. So we don't have the jobs anymore. And you can't say, well, people don't want to work anymore. People can't work for nothing. They can't work for nothing. It costs too much money. And other Republicans in the state and in Congress oppose raising minimum wage, but they don't want them on benefits either. You can't have it both ways. You either pay them enough where they can make a living, or you pay them benefits to help them survive. We can't get a farm program passed right now in Congress because they're fighting over wanting to reduce SNAP benefits among the poorest of the people out here. Okay, but they always have enough money for tax breaks for the millionaires, but not enough for SNAP benefits for kids that go hungry. We have the highest child poverty rate in our state here, and the highest senior poverty rate in the state here. So we need good jobs. We need to bring our good jobs back. We need high-paying jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Roth, I'll start with you on this next question.
Okay.
Healthcare is always a large concern for the population in our community. The process for receiving Medicaid verification is a time-consuming and lengthy process that can take months to complete with multiple visits to our local office and several hours on phone calls. If elected, what would you do to help streamline this process?
I would streamline it by having single-payer Medicare for all. Everybody. We're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have it. And you hear all the nonsense about, well, you know, you have to wait for months to see a doctor. Well, go try to find an endo in St. Louis and see how long it takes you to get in. It's all nonsense. It's just propaganda put out there by the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies. We're the only country that bankrupts citizens. 2/3 of the bankruptcies in this country are for medical bills. 100 million people in this country carry some form of medical debt. That's ridiculous. The richest country in the world, and we have people starving to death or cutting insulin to the point that they die because they can't afford it. It's absolute nonsense. I just had a guy, he's running for Republican office in Jefferson County. We spoke at a labor meeting this week, and he told me of a trip that he and his wife took to the Czech Republic. His wife got very sick. Father had to go to a hospital. He said it didn't cost us a dime. That's healthcare in our country, in their country. Healthcare in our country, there's a little boy in Oregon County that has a GoFundMe page and benefits to pay for a skin cancer treatment that he needs. That's healthcare in our country. It's absolutely a travesty that we do this to people, that we have GoFundMe pages and benefits to raise enough money to pay for healthcare.
Thank you. Ms. McCallian?
Can you read the question?
Yes. Healthcare is always a large concern for the population in our community. The process for receiving Medicaid verification is a time-consuming and lengthy process that can take months to complete with multiple visits to your local office and several hours on phone calls. If elected, what would you do to help streamline the process?
Thank you. So I agree that single payer is our way forward. I have someone very close to me that works in the private health insurance industry, and I am deeply and intimately aware of the games they play and who they fund, and that they mislead some of their people to donating to representatives that will protect the private insurance industry and will protect their gigantic and increasing profits over people. We need single payers so that we can remove them as the stopgap, as the end all and the be all, and their profit is the final line. It shouldn't be that way. Healthcare shouldn't be done for profit when we're suffering like we are. I'm particularly interested in maternal and child health, and I got into running for office because I was frustrated by the barriers that are placed in front of families and children. And Medicaid applications and a lot of those types of things are a huge barrier for a lot of our people. And what I've seen with that is that it's the ineptitude of a lot of the people we've elected to be in our government. Many of those people don't want government to succeed. We've elected a lot of people that literally say they want government to fail, that they hate government and they don't want government. So it doesn't surprise me that it's not working well. We need people in government that want to work for the people, want to organize it better, and want to make it flow better so that that's how we're saving money and not just screwing people out of a paycheck.
Thank you. Mr. Heithold?
Yeah, I'll admit I don't know a lot about what your question is, but I see what Mr. Elliott said earlier, and it made sense to me to go back to what Mr. Elliott said. Again, I don't know every aspect of this, but what Mr. Elliott said was that to come back to a system that actually worked and review that. So I'm open to that. The thing about government running things, to me, causes my brain to tilt a little bit, because, for instance, we have a VA, which is the Veteran Administration, that if you rent it out like a company in the United States or just a private company, most companies, the administration costs are around 5%, and if it's approaching 5%, then there need to be something done. So it's top heavy even at 5%. But I just found out not long ago that the VA is running about 50% administration costs. That's what happens when you get the big government involved, in my opinion. That there's places where bureaucracy happens, and you have this top-heavy thing going on. I believe we should go back to the insurance companies, start investigating this stuff, and figure out why they're messing with people, and make it held them accountable, whether it be a lobbyist or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Heithold, I'll start with you this time. Can you discuss a bill that did not pass under the last congressional session that you think will be refiled? And please tell us if you will be for or against this bill.
Say that one more time.
Yes, sir. Can you discuss a bill that did not pass under this last congressional session that you think will be refiled? And please tell us if you will be for or against that bill.
Now, this is on the federal level, since we're running for federal office. I can't really think of them, because the thing that stands out to me is bills that are passed that shouldn't be passed. So I might reverse that one, and I apologize for that. Pfizer bill, for example, allows non-warranted searches for citizens, and that was passed. The big thing that was passed that brought me into this race, and brought me into this race late. I filed the last day, and 4 months ago, I didn't realize I was going to be running for this position. But the frustration of a bill that that passed caused me to run. And we can talk about that a little bit more, but it's causing us to train wreck going into a cliff because of what our debt looks like. I'll talk about that on the next question, because I realize that's the next question. But the things that have passed has really messed me up on this and got me thinking. So that's kind of my answer.
Thank you. Ms. McCallian?
Yes, I'm torn between choosing two. My focus is heavily into families and children, and so we have been working for quite some time at a federal level to improve the maternity care system, to increase access to midwifery care, to require health insurance companies to cover doula care, and to generally make it safer to have babies in this country, because we're actually the least safe industrialized country to have a baby. We have the most women and children die after and around childbirth out of all the industrialized nations in the world. So we really need to do better. So I'd like to see those bills pass. I also would like to see us reinstate the child tax credit, because we had this single largest plummet in childhood poverty, and children were able to eat. We have 1 in 5 children hungry in the 8th congressional district, and yet our congressman is calling himself a farmer. That's inappropriate. So I would work to pass those two things so that we can have safer maternity care, less infant mortality and babies dying that are wanted and born, and to also have a child tax credit that helps families pay for things like childcare, food, and shoes, and clothes, and all the things that children need, including now funding their school supplies, since we also underfund our schools and our teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Roth?
Yeah, probably the initiative petition that did not pass because it was filibustered. I hope it gets defeated again, and I'll tell you why. Because that is the one thing that allows people to have a voice in what your Constitution says. And if it's changed, what it's going to do is give rural areas more say, true, but it takes away the majority of the people's vote. So I had this conversation with a person at Ava a while back, and they were complaining about that. Well, you know, we have city people telling rural people how they're going to live. Well, they say the same thing if you take their right away, except their right is they're the majority. So, you know, do we give up majority rule and institute a minority rule? Because that's what this is. Okay? Their question would be, why does real estate vote? Why does real estate have more voting power than the people? That's their question. So this can be a double-edged sword. So be careful what you wish for on this. But it allows people to change the Constitution based on popular belief, whether it's abortion rights or it's medical marijuana or whatever it is. So.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Roth, I'll start with you on this one. What motivated you to run for this office, and what does the future of Ripley County look like to you?
Well, I was motivated to run because I don't like what I see, either in this state or at the federal level. What do I see for Ripley County? Well, if we stay the course like we have for the last 20 plus years in the state and the last 40 plus years in Congress, I see things getting continually worse, as they have. The poverty rate is, what, 14.5%, something like that? Congratulations, you're one of the better ones in the 8th district. Hemscott is the worst in the country. They're over 20% poverty levels. Okay. Jobs. We've got to get jobs back, and we've got to fund our schools. We are defunding our schools. What do you think is going to happen out in these rural areas with the, with the bill they passed to fund the private schools? Okay, that's okay, I guess, if you live in St. Louis or Kansas City or Columbia, where they have a lot of choice. But what's going to happen out here as they defund? We have the lowest paid teachers in the country now. Where's it going to go? They say, oh, we passed a bill for $40,000 starting pay. No, they didn't fund it. If you can't fund it at your local level, it's gone. Okay, it's gone. So what's that mean? Consolidation. So your kids here maybe going to go to Poplar Bluff to go to school? I went to a consolidated high school. I have kids that live close to me that travel 30 miles to go to a rural school. We don't need that here.
Thank you. Ms. McCallian?
Yes, I'm a mother and a wife. I've worked with families and children for over 20 years. I've worked in programs like Early Head Start, Montessori schools, parents as teachers. I got my master's degree in community and family health in public health because I wanted to improve things for families and children. I want to be effective in the work I do, and I know that we need to start at the very beginning and make sure that children are being born healthy into strong families that can thrive so that we don't see so many adults who are struggling in the future. We need to start at the beginning and not just pull people out of the river, but find out why they're falling in. So I started running for office because I wanted to start centering the issues of maternity care, of infant care, of child care, of what families go through, and that really all that families have that we provide for them as a society is the public school system, and that's in danger now too. As for Ripley County, what I see, first of all, what I see is that there are a lot of people who showed up to here tonight, and I'll tell you, that's one great step to getting a better government, is being engaged in it, and seeing how many people came here today from Ripley County tells me that things are going to look up for Ripley County. I also think that we want change, no matter where we're standing on the spectrum of policy and values. We want some change, and I think that Ripley County is going to get it based on how many people are here to raise their voice, to find things out, and to be engaged. And if I was your representative, I'd be bringing your federal tax dollars back and fighting hard to get jobs in this district for us again.
Thank you. Mr. Heithold?
Again, I looked from a higher level. What got me, when I decided to run was because of the last spending bill, this omnibus bill that our representation voted on. He's voted on this even though we had an increase of 40% in 5 years in trillions of dollars of spending. So I encourage you to look at that bill. It was passed with our representation help, and the majority of the Democrats voted yes on that and opposed the Republicans. What we're doing is spending money that we don't have. We're at $35 trillion in debt that we can't pay. $1 trillion of our debt is being added to every 100 days. We are in a new area in this history of the United States. This interest on that money is now beyond the budget for the Defense Department for the year. Just the interest alone. We're running into a train wreck. So we got to pull back, but also we are funding Ukraine. What would $150 billion do, or $80 billion for taking tuition away from these students that go into Harvard, would do for Ripley County? If we're going to be spending money, we need to be thinking about that money. It's massive. We can help Ripley County get back in going again. Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our Republican candidate, Grant Heithold, Democratic candidate, Randi McCallian, and our Democratic candidate, Frandklin Roth. Thank you all for your time.